What is good, Osiris here? Stuck in the middle. I do uploads every day at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I'm always going to try and keep it real on the channel, but I'm also trying to find something to be optimistic about. So I'm trying to be real and optimistic. And believe it or not, one of the biggest things is the opinion that I think Democrats are going to get politically destroyed in 2022. And that's coming from someone who isn't even a Republican. I'm just out of defense, out of self-preservation. We need the establishment Democrats to ease up a little bit. Just take their foot off the acceleration. They're going hard right now. Need to calm down. And 2022 will be that thing. Democrats know this already. See how they feel about Kamala Harris. They know it's not looking good for 2022 and 2024, and here's more proof of it. Texas Democrats flee state in effort to block GOP-backed voting restrictions. The lawmakers are on their way to D.C. to advocate for federal voting rights legislation, risking arrest by leaving town during the special legislative session. We have more performative politics because we have at least 51 Democrat members of the State House of Representatives who fled the state Monday afternoon in 2 charter jets bound for Washington, D.C. in an effort to block the measures. And we have seen them on Twitter on the airplane. You'll see those pictures later. This move is unusual. They plan to spend more than 3 weeks in Washington, running out the clock on the session, which began Thursday. They're going to be there advocating for federal voting legislation, more performance. The For the People Act has already been filibustered. There is no chance that that's going to get through and become law. So Texas is dominated by Republicans. The Democrats can't do anything. Nobody works with each other anymore. And that's Republicans' fault as well, in my opinion. You both have to work together, but that doesn't happen much. So what are they? This is a natural evolution of our politics. If we're not going to work together, then there's no harm in calling each other the worst names in the book, like Lauren Boebert did and AOC does. Because they're not going to work together, so there's no harm to calling somebody the worst name in the book. Marjorie Taylor Greene can yell, and Cori Bush can yell at Marjorie Taylor Greene. They can yell at each other like kids in high school. And there's no ramifications for it. It actually helps them raise money. And they weren't going to work together anyway, so it doesn't matter if someone's feelings are hurt or if you become so toxic that no one wants to work with you. You weren't going to do it anyway. So this is the natural evolution. They might as well just leave Texas. Don't come back. Well, there might be some things. I know on the federal level, when it comes to military spending, they get together. When it comes to transferring money from poor to rich, they get together. So maybe they could just go their separate ways, including those in D.C. You don't need to be there. And just get together when it's time to increase the defense budget or whatever the case may be. They say this is the only way they can permanently fend off election limits Republicans are advancing at the state level. Of course, Republicans are passing legislation that they feel will be more beneficial to Republicans. Fancy that. Just like Democrats do the same thing in Democrat-ruled states, in most of them. They use these grandiose statements like our democracy is on the line. No, Republicans want to keep power in Texas. They don't want Texas to flip. And Democrats want to flip it. That's what it is. It's not our democracy that's on the line. It's your political party that's on the line. We see them on the plane. They're literally on the plane here. They actually risk arrest. So this is escalating and this is not de-escalating. So this trip to Texas, similar thing happened back in 2003 where they just left. This stuff is going to happen more and more. And at some point, I think this will happen. The legislators risk arrest by taking flight. Under the Texas Constitution, the legislator requires a quorum of 2/3 of lawmakers to be present to conduct state business in either chamber. Absent lawmakers can be legally compelled to return to the Capitol. The source said Democrats expect state Republicans to ask the Department of Public Safety to track them down. People think I've talked about this and I got feedback, and I still haven't had a chance to go through all my comments. I appreciate the patience, but I see them, and I saw people's like, oh, come on, what are you talking about with this civil conflict and all this kind of stuff? Like, oh, what about this peaceful divorce? You're so sensational, that type of stuff. It doesn't happen where you snap your fingers and it's here. And I'm not saying it's going to happen. I mean, at this pace, who knows when it's going to happen? But I'm not saying it's going to happen in a year. This is something that happens over the course of 5 to 10 years. And really, it started when Trump won. So I would say by 2030, we'll know if I'm an idiot or not. We'll know for sure by 2030, probably before that, whether we're going to peacefully divorce. This is the kind of stuff that creates that. Democrats expect state Republicans. This isn't NBC News. This isn't some radical. I know I use sources that are, on the extreme at times. This is NBC. Democrats expect state Republicans to ask the Department of Public Safety to track them down. That's conflict, y'all. That's the start of it. It's early, but that's the start of it. Governor Greg Abbott, who made the tightening election rules a priority, slammed the move as a dereliction of duty. Okay, that's fine. But again, Republicans have some blame here too. If you're not going to work with Democrats, and again, they have the legal upper hand and whatever, they're not saying anything wrong here, but not talking legally, just from a citizen, and I'm not in Texas, but you as Republicans have a responsibility here also to make it work for your citizens. Now, most citizens in Texas are probably fine with this, with the Democrat state legislators leaving. They're probably fine with that, but you shouldn't be. You need balance, and Republicans have to. If you're not going to create an environment where there's a possibility for something to be worked out, and not just on this bill, on other things, then wouldn't you leave too? So I'm not fully knocking. I'm knocking it as performance theater, ridiculous. But I'm not knocking it from the standpoint of, damn, I might show up if I'm a state legislator, a Democrat, but I might be checked out because what am I doing? We're not gonna meet on anything. So it ends with, we're in this for the long haul. We know the eyes on the nation are on Texas. And that's true. That's causing extra pressure here. Martinez Fisher said, we want to rally the nation and we want the United States Senate to hear us and to act by passing the For the People Act. Complete nonsense, not happening. There's not much people don't in DC, like the Senate doesn't respect the House. They look down on members of the House, all of them except for Nancy Pelosi. Speaker of the House is a very powerful position. When state legislators come to DC, they look at them like the JV team, or even like the freshman squad, because the House is like the JV team. This is like the ninth graders, the freshman football team. They're like, what are y'all doing here? If over a partisan bill that has no chance of getting through. Here's where I'm going to end and how I'm going to end it. I foresee, and I could be completely wrong. It's not a conspiracy theory. I'm just throwing out my thoughts. I foresee a world where US where your states will be fully red and fully blue. When you look at it now, especially look at a general election, you'll see a state like Texas, and of course in the Austin area, you'll have blue. I forget what county that is. But just like Georgia with Fulton County, you'll see the blue, and it's red almost everywhere else. Then you have other states that are blue with pockets of red, usually the rural areas. I foresee a world where these states turn fully red and fully blue, even in the inner cities. Now, I don't know how that's fully going to happen, but I don't know if anyone saw Georgia is not happy with how Fulton County handled the election, and they're making demands. And there's even threats of them kind of taking over the election process, which is a serious thing. And to me, it's like that's only a step below you take over the city. We're not gonna be able to continue with blue pockets in red states and red pockets in blue states. I don't see a world where a US where we continue on that path. So if you're in a blue city, like if you're in Austin and you're in Texas, I just would mentally prepare again over a decade that can't happen quickly, that your city is not going to be blue forever. That's going to start filtering out because we're not working anything out. If you look at it, we've already seen attempts with Idaho, northern part of Colorado wants to leave Colorado. And Colorado's kind of purplish to me, but it's mostly right now it's all blue as far as the state legislator and governor. But the northern part of Colorado wants to become a part of Wyoming. And you're seeing that all over the country. The rural areas, like the rural part of eastern Oregon, they want to join Idaho because that's a red state. At some point, I think you're going to see that happen. So I just keep that on the radar. Let me know if you have an idea, what you think. Uh, these things are just the little signs, and I'm seeing more and more little signs almost every day of, yeah, that's pretty much along the lines of what I was expecting. Let me know what you think. Thanks a lot for listening. Take care.